they played like a clip, and it was like a 7-year-old kid. This is a real call, like, because they've clipped a call. A 7-year-old kid hiding under their bed, phoning NACOA to say, my dad's kicking off. And they say, are you safe? Says, no. And it's like, can you tell me your address? Don't know it because she's 7. And they play these things, and it's like, this is not like a one-off thing. They get this all the time.
Hey guys, welcome back to After Hours, episode 80, season 4. And this is a story I genuinely didn't know where it was going when we started, and it went absolutely everywhere. Scott's a great guy. Scott grew up in the schemes of Loch Lomond. Schemes are like, council houses, estates. So he was the child of an alcoholic father and a mum who'd also grown up around it. His father and his mum, I think, were both children of alcoholics as well. So it was, it was kind of rife through generational shift within his family. He left school with 2 C's, drank in the park, failed everything. And then at 21, made 2 Google searches that changed the direction of his entire life. The first one, being the child of an alcoholic. First thing that came up was NACOA. And he basically said, right, I'm going to do stuff for NACOA. The second Google search was, what is the toughest race on earth? 8 years later, he ran the Marathon des Sables, which is the toughest race on earth. 6 marathons across the Sahara Desert in 5 days. Then he ran 100 kilometres through the night from Glasgow to Edinburgh to hand a letter to Scotland's First Minister. And in 60 days' time, he's attempting a Guinness World Record in Samoa. 2 marathons in 2 time zones on the same day to fund the schools programme in Scotland that will make sure kids growing up right now know that counting their dad's cans and hiding under the covers is not something they have to carry alone. This one is special and it's worth listening to. As always, guys, listen for the similarities. Here comes Scott. I'll see you at the end. Scott, welcome to After Hours, man. How are you doing today?
Superb, mate. Just
good
finished work, so all good.
Yeah. Is the sun shining up there? Whereabouts are you? You in Glasgow or Edinburgh?
Based in Glasgow, mate, the good
Based
city.
In Glasgow. Yeah.
Where are you?
Whereabouts?
I live on Glasgow Green.
Right. Oh, yeah. I think you mentioned that. Yeah.
I haven't always stayed here. I grew up on Loch Lomond. But
right.
It sounds like you all know Loch Lomond. Whereabouts are you from again? Sorry.
So Eaglesham originally. I grew up in Eaglesham, out South Lanarkshire way, towards East Kilbride, Newton Mearns, Clarkston, that kind of way. And my dad was born in Stirlingshire. My mum was born in Perth. So yeah. But Loch Lomond. How old are you, Scott?
30.
So a little bit younger than me. I'm 46. 1996 was when Oasis played Loch Lomond, and it was the weekend. So they did Loch Lomond. And then the week later they did Nebworth, and Nebworth got it was record breaking, all of this and all that. But we were at Loch Lomond in '96, so it was a bit of a mental fest.
I still remember live at Loch Lomond that played the music, because I could hear it when we were out the back playing.
Right,
wow. As a wee boy, but I was born in 1995, so I don't remember Oasis.
Right,
but,
yeah.
I remember live at Loch Lomond being a thing, and I don't know when it stopped, but. It's a bit shame that big castle in the park's derelict now.
It was an amazing venue, and I mean, I've got there's some stories to tell from that day, because I was 16, so it was just a bit of a mad kind of weekend up there. We had all the bands. I mean, it was Ocean Colour Scene, Oasis, Black Grape. It was just an amazing festival. So yeah, those were the days. So you grew up in Loch Lomond. Tell us about your childhood, Scott, and when you had your first drink. How was that? I mean, tell us a bit about your upbringing.
Yeah, mate. So I grew up Loch Lomond. Everyone thinks it's a beautiful place, right? And I'm not saying it's not. There's the nice part with all the B&Bs, and then surrounded by that is the schemes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it goes.
And for anyone listening that's not from north of the border or Scotland, a scheme is basically like a council area, council houses and all that. They call them schemes up north, but yeah.
Yeah, mate. So I grew up in one of the schemes until about second year. And to put it into perspective, they burnt the school down. So when we were learning in caravans, like some of we had the young teams, so they all used to
Yeah.
get a bit territorial and they used to fight.
They
I
burnt the school down.
They burnt the school down, mate. The school we went to school in caravans, and I suppose like obviously when you're a kid, you don't know like you're in deprivation.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I actually moved out Stirlingshire way, as you mentioned. I moved out to Stirlingshire when I was about 13, 14, 15.
Hmm.
It was only at that point I realised people have stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Right.
I grew up in one of those grey houses. Everyone had the same house where I was from, so I just thought
Yeah.
that that's what everybody had. And that way it's like the young team would come, passes your ball, mate. You'd pass
Yeah.
them it, they'd pick it up and they would shoot off. But
Yeah.
if we didn't have a football, we'd play with a bottle of Coke,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
bottle of
Just
juice.
whatever you had.
I mate, like that's kind of what I grew up around thinking was normal to be
Hmm.
honest with you, mate. And as I say, like you don't know anything
No,
different.
that's because you're not. I mean, obviously, in those days, didn't really have phones and the internet, maybe so much, and it was like you're not seeing. That's your world almost. You know what I mean? And what was the community like? I mean, obviously, you got the young team and the Neds and all that hanging about causing trouble, but what was the community like? Did everyone kind of club together, or was there a bit of a nasty vibe in the area, or what was it like?
Do you know, for the most part, like everyone, like when we moved house, and then it was always people that we knew.
Hmm.
We moved into my grand's house when she died of alcoholism. Believe it or not,
Right.
she died from alcoholism really young. I remember her looking elderly, but she was like 58, mate.
Wow.
I know, because now when I look at someone in their 60s, I'm like, that's not old.
Yeah.
Back
Yeah.
then, like my gran, even if you've seen a photo of her, she looked elderly. She died when she was 58 from the boozing. You
Yeah.
know,
And I suppose the boozing was prematurely like aging her, making her look old, and
I assume so, mate.
yeah,
She'd had
yeah,
like 3 strokes in her early 50s, I think. But anyway, she we moved into our house, and then it's like we knew everybody on the street. But
hmm,
as far as I'm aware, it used to be one of those places like at New Year you would go around all the doors and stuff. Like,
aye,
you
first
could
foot
walk
in.
into anybody's house, but it was all right.
Hmm.
But mate, it was rough, like
Yeah.
I didn't know that until I moved into a small town called Balfron.
Right. Okay.
When
Yeah.
when my when my mother's dad died, they inherited a couple of properties,
Uh-huh.
and we managed to buy the worst house in the best area. If that makes sense.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. 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 So it's kind
Actually
of
moved.
like you
Uh,
almost feel like you're moving up a level, even though it's the worst house, as you put it, but you're kind of in the best area type thing compared to
Aye,
what
so
you've
we
been to.
moved to a nicer bit of town,
Yeah.
and that's really when there's people's parents that own stuff and are surgeons and stuff, and I'm like, oh, like
Yeah, people
what's
have got TVs in their bedrooms, and you're like, "What? We've only got one TV in the whole house." Or yeah,
mate, I knew people that didn't have one at all, but
yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah,
it's one of those things, and there's people's dads that have Ferraris, and
yeah,
where you've just came from, people's parents don't even drive, so it's
yeah.
it was a bit of a culture shock, but that was in my early teens.
Hmm.
um, and that kind of shaped it. But I suppose in terms of drinking, like uh, as I say, both my parents were actually children of alcoholics,
Yeah.
and how that kind of manifested itself into my life is that I think my dad became the same. He became
Hmm.
a pretty severe alcoholic, and my mum, I think it was normalised for her to the
Hmm.
point where, well, then she put up with it.
So it was like, can't beat him, join him. When did his alcoholism? Was he? Did he drink from an early age as well, or did it really start getting worse as he got older, or was it just always? Were you always aware of it, or was it something that you started to realize later on? But again, sorry to jump about, but you possibly thought that was the norm as well. I mean, I think the stats are that, um, like, what was it? Someone with children of alcoholics, they're 6 times more likely to become an alcoholic themselves. I'm not sure if the stats are right on that, but there is facts and figures on that. So were you aware that your parents were kind of alcoholics, or was it not as prevalent when you were that age?
Mate, I didn't even think about it, to be honest. So when I was aware of certain things from a
Hmm.
very young age, which is
Yeah,
like behavior shifts.
yeah.
So like I could know like someone's very angry tonight, but I wouldn't
Mm,
necessarily relay that to the drinking. And it wasn't really until my early teens I was like, he's got a really bad problem with us.
yeah.
I'm not
And
gonna.
when he's drinking, this is when you're noticing that he's angry. You're kind of putting the
Hmm?
the link there. Yeah.
Yeah, mate. So like you know, I noticed that quite well. I noticed the behavior
Hmm.
different, like but then you don't know whether you're a bad kid and that's a normal response because I've never seen another adult have to respond in the evening, like
Yeah,
when I
yeah, yeah,
bad. So I suppose you don't know what a normal response is, so you assume that is a normal response and you're the bad one.
yeah.
It's quite easy to fall into the trap of thinking that, and I think a lot of people do think that. Um, but yeah, I suppose for me, like uh, I ended up in the park, do you know, with the
Hmm.
bottles of cider
Yeah,
because we never
yeah.
had.
Almost to get away from the house as well. Like, yeah,
Well, do you know what the interesting thing is as well? Is it's only since I've done. I hate the word activism, but I suppose I kind of am an activist.
yeah,
But it's
yeah, yeah,
only since I've started doing that, a lot of the people that I used to speak to reached out. You know,
yeah,
and like I suppose in a way, everyone that's drinking in the park is probably doing it for a similar reason.
yeah.
Not them all, but you know, like a lot of people are. It's been normalised in their house, and they're kind of trying
Hmm.
to avoid it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you can go back before after everyone's asleep, you know, there's going to be no.
There's no repercussions, no like what you're doing or whatever. Because as you're probably figuring, if he's drinking, he's going to be asleep probably quite early on in the evening. Do you know what I mean? He'll probably be passed out about 8, 9, 10 o'clock, and then you can wander in and then go to bed or whatever. And was there quite a group of you? And I mean, I guess it's a social thing as well. I know you're using it as kind of escapism to get away from the house, but did anything kind of click in your head and go, well, my dad's got a problem with this. Do I want to go down this route? Or were you just kind of like, this is what everyone else is doing at the moment?
Nah, mate, I liked causing trouble.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I liked it, and I liked the
It's a
attention.
buzz.
Mate, a wee bit, yeah. I liked getting chased. I liked causing trouble, and there's this type of like it's almost when people are like, "Oh, he's the guy that done that," and it's a bit. It almost in some ways you start to see that as a positive, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. You become a hero.
Aye, you know, and it was just basically being a wee fanny. I
Yeah,
thought that
yeah.
was like, but then it almost becomes your identity, you know. And yeah, I just used to do ridiculous stuff, mate. Like, do you know, like see if I can tan a bottle of vodka in the one go. But we
Hmm.
were all doing it, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And I suppose that's about as far as it went. Like, I was kind of a weekend go out, see what drugs you can get your hands on, and
Hmm.
drink whatever until about late teens, early 20s, and that's when I
Hmm.
was like, I need to can that, you know.
And I guess in those days, like in the estates and whatever, it was easy to get, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? There was never any kind of bother getting drink or drugs. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like even if you're underage for the booze, you'd get someone to get it for you, go in for you. So it's not a big deal. It's not like, and what were you doing like school wise? Were you working as well to get some money, or how was that going?
Uh, mate, I've pretty much flunked school, to be honest.
Hmm.
Uh, failed all my exams.
Right.
Listen to this. I can actually. I was a very talented swimmer once upon a
Mm.
time, but my PE was contingent on 50% of the marks was a sport and 50% was written. And if you get
Right.
50%, you can get a C. So since I was a swimmer when I grew up, I got 50 out of 50 on the swimming
Yeah.
marks
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
went, well, I'm not going to my exam then because I've already got a C. That was the kind of mentality I had,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Not
So,
even like I'll write something and get it to maybe 60 or
no,
55. Yeah, it was just like,
I
oh,
never,
I've done my bit. Yeah.
never even went.
Yeah.
So I left school with a C in PE and a
Hmm.
C in music.
Right.
Again, I'm a multi-instrumentalist. I can play a good few instruments, and I done the performance side and then ditched the rest.
Right.
Everything else, I never went to my exam. I
Yeah,
just never
yeah.
went.
Because you're
And
just
it's
not bothered. Yeah, yeah.
didn't
My
care.
schooling was pretty abysmal as well. I mean, I think I got a couple of C's as well, but like I did really well in my standard grades, and then when it got to higher, that's when I was, drinking and using and stuff, and I just never bothered. Do you know what I mean? I was barely there, just going around a mate's house smoking weed and stuff. So, yeah, I totally empathise with you on that. And then but that's the thing, like you're obviously talented in two things, really good swimmer, really good at, multi-instrumentalist. Like, why is that not being pushed? Why are people not going in school? Right, this guy's not really great academically that we've seen, so let's push him on these other things, but they just don't bother, do they?
Well, I think my school, to be fair to them, tried to throw a
Mm-hmm.
couple of lifelines. Like,
Right.
you want to talk about what's at home? Said, nah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I kind of declined it. But I think you are right in saying, like, kids need to be inspired to action. I went to university eventually. I had to take the long road round
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
via college,
Yeah.
upstate of Glasgow College. I had to go to college and then do access courses back in, right? Because I had to
Yeah.
do an access course because I got two C's. And when I went to uni, I got straight A's the full time.
Yeah.
And I think part of it, right, is how they treat young boys. Now, human beings have existed for what, 300,000 years,
Mm-hmm.
roughly. And
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
for the last like two or 300, they've said to young boys, sit down,
Mm-hmm.
do something that's very boring, and don't speak to each other,
Yeah.
right? And I think, especially if you get troubles at home, right? If somebody's been smashing plates off the wall till 3 in the morning, and
Mm-hmm.
then you get up and someone says, right, now we're going to sit here and do maths. I'm like, no, I ain't.
No.
I'm
No.
not doing it.
That's
And
not
then
happening.
I could also just go, fuck it, I'll just cause some problems.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just be an arsehole. And I would do stuff like that, fail all my exams, and I wouldn't care. And I think partially as well, I think I can pull this back. I'm still young. I can,
Mm-hmm.
I can make some mistakes and I can pull it back. And I suppose in a way I kind of proved myself right on that by like pulling it out of the locker and going back to uni and getting A's.
Yeah, which is totally commendable. But I think, like going back to the whole schooling thing, I think you're right. They seem to be pushing more on the maths, the English, the history, the geography, the stuff that people aren't really that bothered about. But then there's people that have got like you look at yeah, people in offices, they're maybe making loads of money, but your carpenters, your plumbers, your sparkies, all these people are making absolute bucket loads of money, but nobody is pushing that like kind of skill set earlier on in school. Do you know what I mean? If you're not good at maths, English, whatever, then you're a dopey and you need to just leave school. I know there's apprenticeships and all of that kind of stuff, but I should have done an apprenticeship. I should have left school at 16 and gone and done something like that. I'm a gardener now and I love my job, but it took me until I was 40 to work out that I'm useless in an office and I was unfulfilled. Do you know what I mean? But it was just what society was kind of pushing me towards, and maybe my stepfather as well. But yeah, it's bollocks. But then that's like, for me, my kind of, I suppose my rebellion was to go and get drunk and take drugs. And it sounds
Mhm.
like it was pretty similar for you. How was your home life though? I mean, I know you were saying you were going down to the park and stuff, but as you were getting older, did your parents work, or were they just drinking in the house, or was there go to work, get home and then have a drink at a certain time? Or how was their drinking?
So they, as far as my way out, like the like my mum wasn't drinking every day. My
Mm-hmm.
dad drank every day. He
Mm-hmm.
was pretty. Do you know what's interesting, right? Because I think, and you can let me know what you think about this.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people think you deal with addiction by money, right? And I think that could be the worst thing. So when my mum's father died, and they inherited some properties, and we managed to buy a house in a better area and have a
Yeah.
little bit more free money. That was probably the worst thing that could have happened, because then you can afford more booze,
Yeah.
right? So you tend to find, like, I think at that point his behaviour kind of started spiraling out of control.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so to be honest, it's you know what it's like, mate. It's unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
It can be, you can go home and there's someone really happy every day. You can go home and there's the dinner splashed off the wall, and you just walk in, take one look,
Walk back
and
out.
then walk back out.
Yeah.
Aye, and go
Yeah.
and stand at
Yeah.
the bus stop and see if you can get a jump in. So it's
Yeah.
like, it was kind of non-existent. So,
And did you have any siblings, or are you an only child, or is your other siblings going through this as well?
older brother, younger
Hmm.
sister. I think
Right.
really when it got bad, my brother had moved out, but
Yeah.
me and my sister kind of got the brunt of it, to be honest.
Hmm.
Um, she moved in with my brother quite young. I moved out pretty young as well, to be
Hmm.
honest.
Hmm. Yeah, you're just
Um,
done with it. Yeah.
yeah, mate, I moved out. My first flat was interesting. It was in Springburn,
Hmm.
and the wall was pretty wet, and it started. I think I was getting pneumonia. And ironically, mate, right, I never had a TV in my
Uh-huh.
first flat, and I had a record player, and the only record that I had, and this came with the flat, was "Top of the World" by the Carpenters.
Right.
That was the only thing I had. It was superb, but yeah, that was like my first ever flat when I must have been about 18, 19.
Yeah.
But at that point, like I
And
was,
were you working to afford that, or was that like on
mhm.
the council, or yeah?
Yeah. So to be honest, I think my worst behaviour was probably like 15 to 19,
Hmm.
and I was
Hmm.
like, because then I was like, right, I've got no grades. I need to. I've always
Yeah.
said, that way. If I had that attitude, like I can fail just now, I can turn it around. It's like
Yeah.
at one point you need to go. I've been saying that for a few years now,
Yeah.
and I'm still doing eckies in the park or whatever I'm doing. So it's like, right. I actually, this is when I went to college, about 18, 19. I got that flat, so a student loan, and I went back. So as I said, I was a swimmer. I used to race swimming until obviously I started misbehaving,
Hmm.
and then I started to lose. Surprise, surprise. But I went back and I started teaching swimming. Swimming.
Right.
Hmm. So I
Yeah.
taught
Yeah.
swimming for a couple of years, and then uh, when I was about 20, 21, and I'd started behaving myself, I actually got into disability swimming.
Hmm.
So I taught disability swimming for a while through university. And then that was really when I was like, right, I'm going to knuckle down.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, because, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happened. I don't speak to my family at all anymore.
Right.
And when I opened up about my dad's drinking, and to be fair to them, I was
Hmm.
not diplomatic because I was also a 17-year-old wee arsehole. But when I told them about here's what my dad's drinking's like, it was very much like, we don't believe you, you
Hmm.
know? And that's the wider family, uh, give or take. So they were saying, I wrote a blog about this for NACOA actually, and it's how to be the perfect scapegoat. And
Hmm.
it was satirical, but what I was saying along the lines is like, if you act out from a very young age, so if I'm smashing the family iPad, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
For years and years and years, they're going to hear these stories about Scott's done this, Scott's done that, Scott's done this.
Yeah.
Scott's been drinking in the park. Scott's been buying drugs. Scott got found with something under his pillow. Who knows what it is, right? And for years, they've been hearing these stories. And then suddenly, because the family secret's my dad's drinking, shh,
Yeah.
suddenly I tell them my dad does this. And it's like, well, why would we believe you? Fair enough. But
It's
anyway,
like an anti kind of boy cried wolf. I know you've not been saying making up stuff, but they've been kind of saying stuff about you, putting you down. And yeah, those things are probably true, but it
they're
doesn't
very,
mean that when you're telling the truth that it's not the actual truth. And it's like, yeah.
very
So they must have been quite good at being secret drinkers then, that it's only happening within the house, so none of the wider family's even aware of it.
Mate, well, this is the thing. They actually live down south, so the
Ah, so
family's quite
it's
spread out. So we weren't like living on the same street of that. We're
yeah.
miles away. But it's one of those things. Like one of my cousins had reached out and said, "I thought he only drank on holiday or whatever." But I don't know how much they believed of it. How much it's like it's a coping mechanism to think this is just an argument and it's not like a fundamental problem.
Yeah. And then
So they
sometimes people don't want to believe it, do they? They don't
no,
want to, they know someone and they've got them up on this pedestal. And then they're like, when you've said that, they're like, oh, well, that can't be true because what I see is, we believe what we see with our eyes. Do you know what I mean? And if someone's telling us something, and we don't quite believe it, we're like, nah, that can't be true. Do you know what I mean? They don't want to believe it.
yeah. I mean, I don't. But who wants to address it as
No,
well?
well, exactly. And it's getting better, Scott. But honestly, like that's why when I kind of came out as being, alcoholic, I was like, I'm going to shout this from the rooftops because I want to break this stigma down, because that word alcoholic, which I hate and I don't really use it, but I was, and people have this negative connotation with that word. They think, oh, well, you must have lost your house and you were sitting in a park bench with a bottle and a brown paper bag. Not far off of it. Do you know what I mean? To be honest, but I was still inherently a good person inside, but they automatically assume you as this bad person and this nasty person, and that you're gonna destroy everything you touch.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
mate, I don't think it was like a secret. Like a lot of people knew, a lot of adults around them knew.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know, I've had a bit of stick about you shouldn't be saying these things, and I'm like, who do you think's finding this out for the first time?
Yeah.
Everybody already knows, right? But again, like I haven't spoke to these people in 10 years, so for what it's worth, they might have changed.
Yeah.
But I decided to cut them off because basically the extended family didn't believe me, and I went, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
And what about your brother and sister? Are they still in touch, or?
yeah, that's what makes the kind of charity activism a little bit more awkward, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because then you get a bit of stick, and the social consequences of it. But this is the reason I'm doing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because how many other people? I done a speech actually recently in Dundee,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lot of people come up to me at the end and said that happened to me, but if I was to speak about it, then like it's going to affect my sister, it's going to affect my mum. And I'm like, but why? Like, do you know, there's, if it's 1 in 5 kids, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If it's not your boss directly, it's your boss's cousin, or
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? So you
Yeah.
think like the people in your work, they could have had their parents. Like the amount
Mm-hmm.
of people that you wouldn't know that will only tell you because they see you doing your charity work.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not a fringe issue.
No,
That's the point. It's
it's
not,
everywhere.
mate. If it's 1 in 5 in the UK, what do you think it is in Glasgow,
Yeah. Yeah.
mate? Mate,
Glasgow was, I don't know if you know Darren McGarvey. He's done a few BBC Scotland documentaries, and he does a lot of touring and stuff. But he was on the podcast last year, and he did this amazing documentary about, drugs and mostly alcohol in Scotland. And at one point, I think in the early noughties, Scotland was the worst country in Europe for alcohol related diseases and deaths, and Glasgow was the worst in Scotland.
Mm.
So, and I think the life expectancy of people in Glasgow had gone down to like something like 60. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the rest of the Western world, it's like 75, 80 or 85. Do you know what I mean? But in Glasgow, it was way down. I think it's better now, but yeah, it was just like, it's a huge problem. And the thing is, like, we're talking about the extreme cases. How many people that are coming home from work, having a bit of a shitty day, and they'll drink a bottle of wine. They maybe don't doing it every day, but then they're a bit crap with their kids. They're not giving their kids the time. I'm not saying they're shouting or throwing things, but they're not being fully present, and they're not being there for their kids. Do you know what I mean? And that's still an issue. Like, I know we're talking full extremes with what you grew up with, but there's still smaller, lower level cases that alcohol is affecting that dynamic in the home, and it's not cool. Do you know what I mean? But people aren't addressing it.
Yeah, mate. I think as well. Like you see this, like some of the most intelligent people I know are still going out, or maybe they've got something different. Maybe it's smoking weed, and you
Mm-hmm.
just think you are not fulfilling your potential.
Yeah.
Because you're,
Yeah.
what do they reckon? If you drink twice a week, then you're constantly like hungover.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
you live in a constant state of kind of
Well, it takes 3 days to get out your system. So yeah, you're right. If you're only drinking twice a week, which I think that's classed as a regular drinker. I saw a story yesterday and it had all the different levels. Like if you drink once a year, then you're not even moderate. Do you know what I mean? But if you're drinking twice a week, you're a regular drinker. But as you say, it takes 3 days to get out your system fully. So you're not even having yourself a full day of not having alcohol in your system. And that's going to compound, and that's going to make things worse,
Yeah. Do you know, I spoke with a liver doctor once. I done a fibro scan just to see if I
Oh
got
yeah.
away with it. Just my behaviour when I was younger.
Yeah.
I did, but that's besides the point. I wanted to know kind of like, so what they had said is if you're drinking 14 units a week for 6 months,
Yeah.
the chances are that you've got some sort of fibrosis. I was like, oh, fuck. Well, I'm screwed then. Let's get this scanned. But the interesting thing is, right, with the liver, it regenerates.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually quite hard to break. And
Yeah,
yet
yeah.
we've
You
got
have
people.
to really pound it. I mean,
Aye.
yeah, like I was 40 and I got my LFT done in a hospital. And yeah, I mean, luckily there wasn't any damage or any signs of it. But I know people that are in their 30s that have, in fact, a girl that I went to rehab with, she came into rehab fully jaundiced. She had to be in a wheelchair because her nerve endings and her feet were just shot to hell. She got better. She did her 28 days, but then she secretly was drinking and she was telling everyone she was sober. And I only heard last year that she'd passed away and she was 36. Do you know what I mean? From
Aye.
liver damage, yeah, from cirrhosis. It's fucking
Wow.
horrible. Yeah, so it does take a pounding, but it depends on your makeup as well, I think. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, some people have got a tendency to, you know, it's that old story like, oh, well, so and so was drinking till they were like 90 and they drank a bottle of whiskey every day. Yeah, that's some people, but some people aren't that lucky, you know? And I'm sure their insides were absolutely shot to hell anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Absolutely. So you got kind of back into gear and got yourself to uni through college. What did you do at uni? Was it more sports stuff?
No,
No.
business.
Oh,
Done
business. Yeah,
business.
yeah.
So it's I suppose this is where I kind of work good with a chip in my shoulder. And
I'll show them. Yeah, yeah.
that was kind of the mentality. That's kind of gone now, but that was my mentality going into uni.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't just that. I had quite a few people being like, "Oh, see how long he sticks that. He'll be back. He'll be back with us soon." You know, it was that type of attitude. And I knuckled down. When I went to uni, and I got straight A's. I actually won the University Ducks, which is surprising considering. So that's like the court medal, which is the
Right. Wow.
best grades in the university for
Wow.
business for 2019, I think it was.
And was because obviously uni's quite a, well, you got Freshers Week and obviously all of that. Was it Glasgow Uni you went to?
UWS and Paisley.
Oh right, okay, yeah. So yeah, but you're still steeped in that whole university life, drinking, blah blah blah. Okay, you're a little bit older than maybe by a couple of years, but you know, how was your drinking through uni and drug taking?
Mate, so I went into uni in third year. So I done City Glasgow College for the
Of
first
course.
two, and then you
Yeah,
go
yeah,
straight
yeah.
into third year. So do you know what? It wasn't. I then you have a bit more bills. You've got a bit more responsibility.
Yeah.
I got promoted the week before in the at the swimming pool. I got promoted the week before I went to uni.
Graduated. Oh, before you went, yeah,
I
yeah,
went
yeah.
to uni. And I think this is, do you know, I have actually, the flat I'm in just now, I just sold it, right? I move out in a month or two. And the guy who bought it, he buys them through a charity and gives them to people that are just out of prison or have had drug problems or things like that. And I asked him, so how's that go for you? How many have you bought? And he said, I bought 21 through his charity. He buys them through grants. And I said, what's the success rate for people? And he said, 100. And I was like, so what do you think that is? Because what the kind of current practice is, right? And I'll get to why I'm telling you this.
Yeah.
What the current practice is they take people out of jail that have had drug problems and they put them in kind of HMOs.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they're in these houses and it's a wee bit dehumanizing because they've got four people in bunk beds in a room.
And who are they sharing with? Do you know what I mean? They're all in the same boat.
Exactly.
And they're
And
all
then you're
just,
into these people that are all kind of fucked it as well. And then they all end up getting on it and then fail, right?
yeah,
But he said, see if you give people a little bit of slack and you give them a bit of dignity and you give them something to lose, they're less likely to fuck it up, right? What I'm saying is I think things started going well for me. You know what it's like, you make one good decision and it'll lead to kind of two good outcomes, and then if you keep going with that, you go on an upward trajectory. But the same happens down. You know, if you fail your grades, then you go, oh, well, I don't care, and then you get a job, and then you go, oh well, I might as well make it worse, or I've got nowhere to show up hungover to tomorrow. But I got promoted to being a lead teacher for the disability swimming, and then I suppose I had a bit more to lose, you know, because I liked my job. It was something different, and then I had this chip on my shoulder. I started getting good grades and I started learning stuff, you know, and I was like, I could be on for a first year in my third year. And
Mm-hmm.
then going into my fourth year, I got an internship. And as a result of the internship, it was actually for the National Association for Cancer Research, something like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
If that's correct. It's on my LinkedIn, I can't remember. But I done this study about their conference, and we actually sold the report to them for £1,500. And based on that, they gave me a 100% mark
Yeah.
in my grade for going into fourth year. So it was
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
a wee bit
Ahead
of
of
a
your
head
peers.
start going into my fourth year. But I knew, like, going into that fourth year, I've got a 100% mark.
Mm-hmm.
Anything
Mm-hmm.
over 70 is a first class. So I was like, it's going to be hard to mess this up. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I need to really knuckle down. And I got distinction. Then they gave me the court medal for some of the stuff that I'd achieved that year. But I thought, once that had happened, then I thought, right, well, now I need to get myself a grad job. And, you know, it's a bit harder to, when you're getting up at 7 in the morning and getting home at 7 p.m., it's a bit hard to mess that up, innit?
Aye.
So
Aye. Yeah. Yeah.
I suppose, like, so no, it wasn't my drinking and stuff. I mean, I was still out some weekends, and
Yeah, but still, but like always, what do they call it? Like a normalized drinker. Do you know what I mean? What people can do. So because you've got so much other stuff going on, it's not your kind of main focus at that point. You're kind of, you've got to do this because, well, if you don't, you're back to where you were almost. So it's like, well, this is, and I'm good at this, and it's like, the universe is kind of shining on you and saying, do you know what, Scott, do this because you're good at it. Let's keep going. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, mate. So I did end up with a grad job right out of uni, like
mm-hmm.
1 month, and I was straight in. And then yeah, mate, that must have been what, 6 years ago now.
Yeah. And what was the job that you got straight out? Are you still in that job then? Yeah.
No,
No.
I got a job in recruitment, believe it or not, which
Okay.
is massive for the the drinking drugs. They thought it was kind of like one of the kind of heavy sales jobs, but they were. I
Yeah.
wasn't battering the drugs or that. I was out maybe some Thursdays. It was like a London culture Thursday drink type thing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I knuckled down, tried to succeed at it, but I
Uh-huh.
didn't like that job. It
I
was one of those make 100 calls a day
yeah.
and
I,
sell stuff that people don't want type
I
job.
worked in recruitment in London for a company that dealt with, well, there was all sorts of disciplines in it. We had IT, we had medicine. So you can imagine the billing that they were getting for these jobs for IT and medicine. And I
Mm.
was dealing with public sector housing. So at the
Yeah.
end of every month, they had a thing called Champagne Friday where we would all just sit in the office, and there was like about 200 people, 200 staff, and we'd all basically get read out like who was the biggest biller. It was never in a month of Sundays going to be our team because like our top salary was I think 35k, whereas you're talking like six-figure salaries over the other desk, and it was like, what is going on here? But it was Champagne Friday. It was, wine on desk, beer on desk, and then it was go out afterwards and just get absolutely off it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
mate. We had it was Fizzy Fridays we had,
Mm,
and what they had is they had a leaderboard up
yeah,
so
yeah,
everyone could see how much money each other makes. And I was selling German engineers, believe it or not.
yeah,
So I done some random deals. I placed, believe it or not, maintenance managers on the Baltic pipeline. See the pipeline from Russia to
yeah, yeah,
Germany,
yeah.
the one that empowered Putin to invade. Uh,
Absolutely.
I was placing maintenance managers on that at one point, but
Wow.
it was like cutting these random deals. But again, I didn't like it. I knew 6 months in because I'd just come from the most wholesome job of all time,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
able kids to swim, and I loved it.
Absolutely. That's like doing something worthwhile. Whereas what you're doing, I mean, I understand recruitment's necessary, but the sales game, it wasn't me. I didn't want to be in amongst those people because there was one job I went for. It was another sales job. And I don't think, well, it was recruitment. They had, like what you're saying, the leaderboard, they had people's pay slips, monthly pay slips up in the staff room. When I was being shown around in the interview, I didn't get the job, but they showed us one of the pay slips, and it was he'd earned 34k after tax in a month.
Aye.
And it was like, what the actual, do you know what I mean? Like, that's just crazy money. So, and
I
like what
know.
you were saying earlier, the more money people have, especially in London and places like that, they're just out there drinking cocktails and putting Charlie up their nose every weekend. Not everyone, obviously, but the more money you got, the more you think, what am I going to do with it? Yeah.
They're all big gamblers. There's some big gamblers, big coke heads and stuff. But yeah, I moved out of that into a job. It's kind of happy medium, to be honest. We actually quite a lot of positive stuff with my job, so now I work for a company called Scotwork. We're the leading negotiating consultants in the world, and I suppose I work in the sales team, but they also support NACOA, so they're one of our biggest, and that's through me that we've done that. But I don't know if you want to get into it, but they funded actually most of my activism for NACOA to date.
Wow,
and it
awesome.
wasn't through asking. They offered it. So I spoke down with the CEO at Scotwork, and he said, well, what's your plan for the next 5 years? What do you want to do? I said, well, I intend to run the hardest race on earth. And he said, and what would that be? And I explained it to him, and he said, send me a marketing proposal for it. And then they sent me the money for the entry.
Wow.
So because obviously I said, like, here's why I want to do it. I want to do it for NACOA.
Yeah.
If you told, the activism that I do now stems from 2 Google searches I made when I was 21.
And what were those?
So when I was 21, this is when I was like just about to come out of uni. I was like, I need to change the way that I operate in the world.
Yeah.
And I Googled being the child of an alcoholic. That was the first time I'd ever Googled it. Didn't tell any of my friends, never said anything. Never even spoke to my other siblings about it. I Googled being the child of an alcoholic, and that's when NACOA popped up.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, I thought, I want to do something for that. And my next Google search after this, and this shows my personality, I Googled, what is the toughest race on earth? And it came up, it said the Marathon des Sables. And you do 6 marathons in 5 days across the Sahara Desert.
Yeah.
And it said it's like 50 degrees, there's sandstorms, like people have died. There was a guy that got lost and he had to drink bat's blood. And I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And it took me
it sounds like, I understand, because I've done a couple of marathons and I want to get back into a bit of ultra. Well, not ultra. We've got one over here, which is about 37 miles, but it is an ultra, but it's over the mountains. And I want to do that. That's like my bucket list. I'm not going to do anything crazy like, 100 miles or whatever. So this is 6 marathons in 5 days or 6 days?
5 days.
5 days.
So day four is a double marathon.
Yeah. Wow. So you're not splitting it up. You're doing a marathon each day for the first 3, and then you do 2.
Yeah, double, and then another one after that. I think there was a half marathon at the end as well. But
how long? And what was your timing like, and how did that feel? What was it like?
Yeah, well, I think, do you know what? Getting to the start line was more difficult than doing it. So let me tell you, I Googled that when I was 21.
Yeah.
And then I went, right, I'm going to do that. And then I clicked to go to apply, and it says, you need to have done X, Y, and Z types of races. I was like, right, well, that's me fucked.
You can't just jump into it. Yeah.
Entry price, £5,000. I thought, well, that's me really fucked, because I've got no money. Yeah. So I'm 21, fresh off a bit of a drugs and alcohol problem with a uni degree and, a kind of nothing job. So I was like, I was in no position to be thinking I'm going to go and run the toughest race on earth, right? Then you have to start putting in a structure to be like, well, if I want to do that, what's the next steps, And that's when I really dropped everything. It took me 8 years to get to the start line of that race from that Google search.
Yeah.
And the year before, I got in touch with NACOA, and I said, I've been working towards this for 7 years. I'm going to do it next year. Can I do it for your charity? And that's when I was introduced to NACOA and peers and all the different stuff. And I was a man of my word, and I'd done it. And it was quite something. So we flew out to a small town called Ouarzazate in Africa. So it's maybe eastern Morocco, right? Really in the sticks. It's known as the Heart of the Desert. Did you ever watch that movie, The Mummy?
Yeah, years ago. Yeah,
Game of Thrones. Both of those were filmed in Ouazzazate. So
what
it's
is
like
that?
known as like the desert place, right?
Yeah,
Now, flew out there, and it was kind of uh, the Marathon des Sables takeover. Everyone that was there had done the Marathon des Sables or was doing the Marathon des Sables, right?
yeah.
And yeah, we uh, went from there. It was a 6-hour drive from there into the desert, and then they have camps. And then, yeah, I was out there, have to do the safety briefings and the checks and stuff, and then we start. But it was interesting. I never told anyone this, but I was injured. I really badly injured myself 3 months before going out. So just because of the training volume. So the first run I done in 2025 was the first marathon in Marathon des Sables.
Wow. So you hadn't done anything. You were just like, nah, right. You know, you'd got yourself to such a level that you thought I can hang for 3 months and then go and do a marathon. And how many hours did you take in the first day then in that first marathon?
Mate, I've actually got my timings up on the wall.
Yeah. Oh wow. I love it.
4 hours 12 for the first one.
So my first marathon when I was, and I know this is nothing in comparison, did my first marathon over here in 2008 when I was 28, and I did that in 4 hours and 13 minutes. And it's nothing like, it's the Isle of Man. Come on, it's not even in the desert. So but you still beat me. So yeah. No.
But then, yeah, so I remember thinking like it's almost surreal because I was running and I was thinking, right, don't go too fast because you've got the Marathon des Sables coming up. Mm-hmm. I thought, no, wait, this is the Marathon des Sables. But because everything in my head had been like, I'm gearing towards this for years. So I was like, when I was doing it. But let me tell you something funny, right? So I'd been in the desert for 3 days sleeping in this, it's called a bivouac, just a big bit of wool with sticks up.
Yeah.
And then I knew they start blowing up the start line and they put this massive speaker next to the start line, right? And they're obviously going to play music. But I woke up before the first day to a song, and if anyone's watching this, put in Patrick Bernard, Born to Be Alive.
Okay.
Right, have you ever heard that song? And it says born to be alive. But it
yeah.
And they were doing this. So they done a synchronized, all the staff done a synchronized dance routine. When we woke up, they woke us up to this music and they were saying that we were going to boil in the desert. I thought, wow, that's sadistic. But it's interesting because even as things get really bad for everybody, they're still doing it.
You're still doing it.
You just woke up from an 85K and you got go and run a marathon again.
Yeah. And you're already waking up, probably sweating, dehydrated. You've got to get the liquids on. You've got to get the carbs on and all of that. And then go off and run another marathon. And so how many people were doing it at that time?
1,000 people.
And how many finished?
I think I checked this recently. I think it was about 600. So there's 140 countries represented. So there's a lot of people that show up to it. But yeah, I seen people DNF on the first day.
Yeah.
I was running up this sand dune and I seen a Belgian guy whacking his sticks that he's running with, whacking his sticks off the floor. And his knee was like buckling when he was trying to go again. And I thought, it does fill you fear because I'm like, that could be me, man. My knee was pretty gubbed before coming as well. So, I mean, I was very fortunate my injuries never started. But I tell you where the most humbling place I've ever been is the medical tent at the Marathon des Sables. Like, I'll send you some photos after. They're too graphic, but it's like some people's feet were like degloved with like the like big holes. Like there's stuff like that, and there was more serious stuff as well. This boy had a cardiac arrest, and there was a boy in the tent next to me, Sam. He couldn't drink water from day one. So this is one thing they don't tell you. Ouazzazate, I don't think has the best food hygiene standards. Sorry if anyone's from Ouazzazate. But basically, I got told, because I seen a boy and he had a Marathon des Sables finisher t-shirt on. And I said to him, he's a boy called Ronan. I said, Ronan, if you had advice for someone doing the Marathon des Sables to complete it, because he'd completed it before, what would it be? And he says, however much hand sanitizer you need, double it, and don't eat the eggs. And I was like, Roger that. So no joke, for the whole time I was in Africa, I was just eating like cheese pizzas and croissants.
Yeah.
Never ate anything else because I was like, I ain't risking getting ill here. But this guy ate the eggs basically, had the
Oh,
shits, couldn't drink water, and he was pretty seriously puking, and couldn't hold down water, couldn't hold down food, and by day 3 or 4, he just never showed up at the finish line. But they had these body bags full of ice, not for dead people, full of ice, and because it was so hot, right? That if people were overheating, they would take your internal temperature from your ear, and if you overheat, they would stick you in the body bag full of ice. But his internal temperature was something over 40, and then they put him in the ice, and it wasn't coming down, so they took his blood, and I think he was going into multiple organ failure. You know, it said his heart was failing, his liver was failing, his kidneys were failing from the heat of his blood. He got shipped off to Marrakesh on a flight home.
jeez.
So
And how
I
old
can't,
was he?
mate, same age as me, I think.
Wow.
No.
That is it's just absolute madness. I mean, I'm going to go and have to YouTube this and see what it exactly like. Because I don't know if you've ever heard of the Barkley Marathons. Have you ever watched that? The race
Yeah,
that eats its young or something like that. And that's one you should enter. Because I loved watching the documentary of that. They call it the fun run if you do 3, I think, out of the 5 marathons, but they change the route every year. And you're going through like razor sharp brambles and bracken and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, you'll need
yeah.
to sign up to that one.
It's hard to get into that one, you know.
I think so. Yeah, they I think they said if you get into it, they send you a condolence email to say, unfortunately, you've been accepted into the Barkley Marathon. So
I'm not
yeah,
surprised, mate.
yeah,
So you have to write a letter to Lazarus Lake,
yeah.
but he won't tell you where his address is.
No, you have to
And no
find
one else
it.
wants to tell you where his address is because they want to get in as well. And he chooses 100 people at random.
Yeah, and I
The
think
entry,
the entry fee is something ridiculous, but you have to take a number plate from your town and whatever he's having that year, whether it's a new shirt or a pair of pants or a pair of socks or
bags or
yeah,
something now.
yeah,
So it's random, but it's very
amazing.
difficult to get in.
Yeah,
There's
but
there's a
nobody
few.
finishes it. I think they only had only one person finished the fun run this year or last year, and it's been a while since someone's actually done all 5, the full thing. Yeah, because you have to like the 2 people that finish. Like if there's someone that gets to before the last final marathon, they go out one way, but then the second person coming through has to go the opposite way, so that you're not running together. He's just fucking with you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's some interesting ones that I think I'll do. So I wanted to start with that, like the Marathon des Sables. That was the most famous one.
yeah.
Um, and then the next one, well, I've got the kind of bespoke one, which is it's not it's a NACOA organised event. Well, we organised it for NACOA, and then I'm going to go to the Arctic. I signed up to one called the Arctic Spine.
Right.
So it's effectively 130 miles with no checkpoints in northern Sweden. It's called the Kungsleden Trail. Gets to minus 50. I think the coldest it's been was minus 52.
Yeah.
But
That
I thought going from the heat
extreme in the
to
heat. Yeah, yeah. I like
the
that. It's the kind of yin and yang of it, the ice and the fire.
Mhm.
So then you got, when was it you got the letter from the young girl to ask you to take a letter to, the Scottish government? When did that come about? And tell us the story.
Yeah, so NACOA get letters all the time.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think is
yeah.
the key part. And I don't know how aware you are of NACOA. Are you aware of NACOA?
I am. Yeah, yeah. I've not done anything particularly with them because I'm not a child of alcoholics or anything like that. But they are. I've got their thing on the bottom of the show notes for the podcast. But we've not actually spoken or anything like that. But it is something that I'm very aware of. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so NACOA is the National Association for the Children of Alcoholics.
yeah.
Right, and they support children and even adult children of alcoholics because people suffer with it for the full life. You know, and one thing that they do is they have a call line, they have a helpline, they have chatting services so people can go on and chat. And when I done the training, because I wanted to go, and one of the ideas that I had back when I Googled being the child of an alcoholic is I'm going to do something positive. I'm going to go and run the toughest race. I'm going to use the momentum that I get from that to pivot into some sort of schools education program.
Yeah.
Right now, I had then done the Marathon des Sables, and then I started to reach out. It was last year, actually, I reached out to a few, my local MP and John Swinney, who's Scotland's First Minister. And basically I said that I wanted to bring them a letter. And now NACOA, when I done my foundation training to be allowed into schools and talk about being the child of an alcoholic, they played like a clip, and it was like a 7-year-old kid. And this is a real call, like, because they've clipped a call. A 7-year-old kid hiding under their bed, phoning NACOA to say, my dad's kicking off. And they say, are you safe? Says, no. And it's like, can you tell me your address? Don't know it because she's 7. And they play these things, and it's like, this is not like a one-off thing. They get this all the time, you know, and these aren't like one-off letters. We get these letters all the time. People write letters, they don't know what to, what to do, and then they write a letter and their school posts it for them or something like that. So I had one of the letters, and it was basically about her dad dying, and I thought, I want to give this to John Swinney. And the initial idea was never to run with it, by the way. I just thought I'd mix that.
You just thought you'll go up and hand it to him, yeah.
I'll hand it to him, and we'll try and get, because ultimately, right, this is the naivety of a 21-year-old. I said, I want to run the toughest race on earth and then do this schools education program, right? A schools education program, I thought volunteering's free, right? And it is free.
Yeah.
But like, you still need to get like people on the train to there, because you can't expect like that everybody has enough money to get a 20 quid train. Yeah. So volunteering's free to an extent. We can reach a few hundred kids with a train fare. But if you want to extrapolate that out and do it across the nation, because I'm an ambitious guy, then we need resources, but we also need political support. We can't be reaching out to every school. And it'd be a lot easier if John was to say, I can help you with that. Or, you know, someone from England. So we reached out to John, and that was kind of where we get the political support. And we had a meeting in the diary for him, and it was during campaign week for John. So we thought, like, let's try and make a little bit of publicity about it.
Yeah.
And
great for him as well.
Yeah, I imagine so. Yeah. And what I thought to do was to run from my house, so I live on Glasgow Green, to Parliament, which is 100 kilometres. And this is the funny bit, right? So I had agreed to meet him at 12:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then I got an email that night from his team saying, John's had something very important come up. Can we make it 11? I was like, right. So I was like, right, I'm going to need to give myself a good 12 hours here, because you never know what can happen.
You never know. And what would be your kind of 100-mile roughly? You'd probably do that in about 10, 11, but you thought I'll give myself 12 to do it? Or yeah.
Because you never know what will happen.
Yeah, of course.
I've done stuff like this before and pulled a hamstring.
Yeah.
And then it can add on time. So I was like, right, well, I'm leaving at 11 p.m. So I went, no sleep, letter in hand, and I jogged it. And to be fair, I absolutely sank the first kind of 50k, no bother. And then, I hit a bit of a wall. My lamp turned off. We had a miscommunication in where I was going to meet the person to fill my water up and stuff. So I had a wee bit of a badging. But then I got met by, I don't know if you know them, so we've got Callum Best, Ian Stringer, and Josh Connolly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know them personally, but I know of them. Yeah. They're doing great things.
So these boys are kind of NACOA ambassadors as well.
Yeah.
We are doing a challenge together in July. So they were like, we are going to fly up if you're doing this and do the last 30 kilometers with you. So you're not that'll be the worst 30 kilometers for me.
Of course,
But
and
then it's
to have that kind of encouragement and camaraderie, like coming along with you to the last like hurdle. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And also, I didn't really have much of a pitch in me once we got to John.
Well,
I
I was tracking you from about 6 a.m. when I got up, so I was kind of dotting in and out and looking at it on my way to work and stuff. And I think, did the tracker go off for a bit or something happened, and it was like you were probably about 10 miles outside of Edinburgh, and it just seemed to be frozen for a bit, and then it was like, because it was catching up at different points and all that, but obviously you got there in the end.
Yeah. Do you know what happened with it? It interrupts your music, and it says take a left. And I'm like, right,
yeah.
I'm going. I've done this run before, and I was trying to turn off notifications on it, so like I would pause and start it, so it would stop. Obviously, I tracked it on Strava, but yeah, that was a tough run. I think the no sleep, but it was a good practice run as well, because we're doing a run in July. It's called the Chasing Yesterday Marathons.
Yeah.
And in order to complete this, we need to start at midnight.
Yeah, because you're going over the timeline or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, correct.
The international date line. Hang on, just before we go on to that one, what was the gist of the letter that you took to John Swinney? Like, what did she say in it? Yeah.
This girl's dad died. She wrote it was in 3 sections. The first one was to alcohol. So it's obviously the innocence of a child. She's trying to write a letter to a substance.
Which is interesting, because actually in rehab, one of the first things they get us to do is to write a letter, dear alcohol, and it's almost like your goodbye letter, your farewell letter. You're saying goodbye to alcohol. I've still got mine somewhere, so that's interesting that she's done that as well. Yeah,
I don't know where she got it from, but the next bit was to the people that made alcohol, and then the last bit was to the government. And there wasn't really the call to. It was a sad story about her dad dying and how she thinks it's going to affect her for the rest of her life, and it will affect her for the rest of her life. And John, he's quite an empathetic guy. Like he see it affected him when he read it, and he wants to help. In fact, to say he actually pledged support for the schools education program that we proposed to him,
there and then.
Yeah, he pledged,
which is amazing, because you get a lot of MPs or MSPs and all that. We've got MHKs over here in the Isle of Man, and they love a bit of that, and they're gonna say, yeah, come along, but then it's all for show, and they don't actually do anything about it. But if he's already pledging doing that, that's amazing. That's great news.
Well, I tell you what, right? It's a pretty good offer we've given him. So when I was 21, the two things, when I said I wanted to do a schools education program, the two things was the political will and the resources. So I suppose what I'm approaching and what we approached them with as a group is not that we need to run this and you need to design it and you need to pay for it from the government. What we said is we need the government to help us get into schools and basically allow us to do this. But we're going to go and break a world record in Polynesia, and that's going to fund this. And we've already designed the education program. And truth be told, no one knows this, but 2 months before he agreed to meet us, he sent Marie Todd out, who's the Minister for Alcohol Policy. You'll like this. In Scotland, we have Marie Todd is the Minister for Alcohol, Drugs and Sport. I don't know how they put them three together, but
it's like in America they've got, what is it, firearms, tobacco, and alcohol.
Yeah,
the FDA or whatever. Yeah, that's insane.
Anyway, Marie was great, and she came out and she watched our schools education program and what we're proposing. We've done little workshops with the kids, and as I say, we are offering to fund it.
You just want the government stamp on it to say, look, like these guys are backing us. We're doing everything else, but these guys are backing us, so take us seriously, type thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is we've got a schools education program and we'll pay for it. Just introduce us or get all the head teachers to have no choice but to listen to us type thing.
Yeah.
And you'll be
make
interested.
the government aware, because that's the first and foremost. Once the governments are aware of what's going on and what the problems are, that they need to do something about it as well. And you're obviously like, you're doing it for them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. One of the NACOA staff, Amy, because we were sitting there, we had head teacher Marie Todd, who's the minister for alcohol and drugs, and we had a caretaker and a few NACOA people. And Amy had asked the head teacher, so what do you do what's the infrastructure in place for kids got a terminally ill parent, right? So if they've got a parent that's got 6 months to live from cancer, and they've got like a process in place for what to do about that. Now, what do you do if you've got a kid whose parent is severely alcohol dependent and they've got nothing? And it's almost like teachers are scared to open up the can of worms by asking them what's happened. And as part of the result of like what we were doing is kids were opening up a little bit about it. And one of the caretakers said to us, a little kid came up to him and said, I know that if my dad only has 4 cans of beer in the fridge, everything will be okay. But if he goes to the pub with his friends, I need to hide under the covers. And that's just what this little kid that we were doing our program said to the caretaker. And he doesn't know that that's a wrong thing to say, but you've opened up the conversation. You've told them you're allowed to say that, right? But I suppose that's what we're doing it for, because there's a lot of kids in that situation. And again, you wouldn't have known that. Like, you wouldn't have thought by looking at me in primary school that boy's parents an alcoholic.
Yeah.
There's some people it's maybe evident in, maybe the ones that are in the young teams and kicking about. There's some people you'll never know.
You'll never know, right? Yeah, because they're not coming into school with bruises or anything like that, but they're just keeping it to themselves because they're scared. Do you know what I mean? They're scared as well. They know if this opens, like you say, the can of worms, what's going to happen to their parents, or are their parents going to be taken away? There's so many ramifications that their little minds are thinking of and worrying about, and it's but obviously education, which is what you guys are doing, is going to open that question up, open that conversation up.
Yeah, mate. So I think that's the key thing. And do you know, one of the kickbacks that we get from reaching out to schools personally is teachers saying that's not an issue in our school. You're like,
it doesn't happen here. Yeah, wow.
How do you know?
How do you know? Yeah.
The school that we done the trial one in, they had three parents die from alcohol illnesses last year. So that's why they were receptive to the pitch.
Yeah.
But what we're saying is it doesn't necessarily have to be people that are dying. That's obviously an extreme example in this school. It's kind of in the Gorbals, so it's in Glasgow. So
yeah, there's poverty.
Yeah, we're getting that kind of kickback, and there's no real infrastructure around supporting kids in these situations. And we're not actually trying to go and like point fingers and say here's what everybody needs to do. It's more about getting them to understand that they are not causing their parent to drink like this.
Yeah.
They cannot cure their parent. It's not their responsibility. It's not their fault that their parent's drinking. It's like educational workshops, very kind of top line stuff, just to make sure that they know that if there's a class of 30 of them, mate, chances are 5 or 6.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Yeah. Right?
So it's knowing that, because as I say, I never told anyone until I was like 20. So how have I gone for that? And again, I don't know how I could look back and be like, I live in Glasgow, I'm the only one that has an alcoholic parent in the whole group, Of course there's loads of them, but that's the way you feel, because you don't speak about it, you keep it a secret, you get shunned by the rest of your family if you talk about it, even though that everybody else is experiencing it as well. So it's just like we're all just not talking to each other about something that happens to all of us, and I think it's a little bit silly. So anyway, I wanted to do that, and they liked it, and that's what John pledged support for. But I suppose that takes me to the point. But we've got the support pledged,
Yeah.
we need to raise the money.
You need to raise the money. Yeah.
And that's why we decided to do this Guinness World Record.
So tell us about that. What is that, and when is it, and what does it entail?
So July.
Yeah, this year.
Picture Australia on the map.
Yep.
Go 7 hours east into the Pacific Ocean. Yep. You've got the two islands of Samoa, Western Samoa and American Samoa, and they bisect by the international date line.
Yeah.
So with a 30-minute flight, they have a 24-hour time difference. So what we're going to do is we're going to run a marathon on Western Samoa at midnight. And we're going to get the first flight to American Samoa and run the second marathon yesterday. That's the plan.
Love it.
So
time traveling marathon running.
Time traveling marathon running. Yeah. So we've called it the Chasing Yesterday Marathons.
Yeah.
And we've based it around kind of, as children of alcoholics, we've all had pivotal moments in our past that if we could go back in time and change, we would. Yeah. And we brought in some interesting sponsors. Lots of people have helped us. And we're trying to raise money to pay for the schools campaign. That's what we're doing. So the initial goal, I think, might have been optimistic. So NACOA have supported, we estimate, about 500,000 kids.
Yeah.
Since its inception. And we thought, let's try and raise £1 for every child that we've helped.
Yeah, right? Okay. Yeah, I like it. That's a good round figure. Yeah.
I think as it stands, we might be closer to about 50. But
but you've still got time. You've still got time, man. And once the word gets out,
got time. So we've got some stuff coming up. We've still got sponsorship opportunities and stuff as well, but we've had some great support from Iceland supermarkets.
Oh, nice, yeah. And I bet your company's helping a lot as well. They're amazing at bringing that forward for you. Yeah,
absolutely. So they paid for our flights.
Oh, nice. That's good.
So the interesting thing about this challenge was, so when we were asking for sponsors, we were coming up against two types of sponsor. So we had one, and they said they'll consider a financial provision, and that's contingent on 100% of the money going towards the schools campaign, right? So it's a polite way of saying, fuck off, I'm not buying your flights and your shoes, right? Polite way. Oh. But the other one was like, we'll give you value in kind. So we're sponsored by Adidas, yeah? I'm an Adidas athlete until July, and they'll give us as many shoes and as many jackets as we want, right?
Wow.
And it's been great, but fundamentally it doesn't get us to Samoa, right? Yeah. And my company had given me the opportunity to pitch them, and I said, like, the main thing is like getting there, getting the flights, and they offered to pay our flights, and I paid them and they paid me back, and we've all got some flights back and forward to Samoa, which is very nice of them.
Yeah, and also the flight in between once you're over there as well, because you got to get that one.
Yeah, so that's covered, and we also got a great sponsorship from a resort called the Sinalea Resort in Samoa, and it's owned by the Annandale family, and the owner is, believe it or not, from Scottish descent. I think I googled Annandale family in Samoa, and they went over from Scotland, I believe. But he is actually the chief of the island, so he's the high chief of Samoa, and he owns a resort. And it just so happened I pitched them on LinkedIn, and they were this is what's interesting, right? There's actually quite a big drinking culture in Samoa. Now, this is the furthest point on the map away from the United Kingdom. And these guys run a running club for mental health. And we were like, what is the chances? And I think we're going to try and make it a bit more of a community initiative, get people out and get them running with us, and do something
and explain to them, because there's obviously going to be, if there's a big drinking culture there, there's obviously going to be the things that come with that, the negative impact that comes with that. So doing what you're doing, it's not just helping people back home, it's probably going to be helping people out there as well. They'll be like, hang on, yeah, we can ditch the booze and get running. Do you know what I mean? If these guys are doing it, then we can. Just a little thing. If it helps one person, then you're already doing it. You're already winning, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, I think that'll be the next one. I'm really looking forward to it. 60 days from today, I get the flight.
60 days from today. Wow, that's awesome. And who is it that's running with you again? Is Callum Best and
so we've got Callum Best,
yeah,
Ian Stringer, and Josh Connolly. So they're all children of alcoholics.
Yeah,
they're all ambassadors for NACOA.
Yeah,
and all in their own way. They all do their own interests and stuff. You should check them out on.
Oh no, but I mean, I think I follow all three of them. But yeah, I was just trying to remember exactly their names. But who was the brainchild of? Who came up with the idea to do this kind of run for tomorrow, run for yesterday, run for tomorrow?
It was actually Ian Stringer.
Right.
So Ian had messaged me in the desert when I was in the marathon Sables. Right. So I think I appeared on Scottish television. I appeared on STV, and then NACOA had clipped it and put it up on the NACOA page. So then I started getting messages from people when I was in the desert of people I didn't know. It was interesting because it was like, looking back on it, it's all the people I'm doing the run with, you know, like commenting and sharing and stuff. But when I arrived back home, I had a message from Piers saying, I've got, do you know Piers? Piers is the charity director.
Director, yeah.
So he had messaged me saying, I've got a proposal for you for a challenge. And I was kind of like,
I've not even really recovered from this one yet, man. Come on, yeah.
I know. So I done another run after like 6 weeks, after the desert, and I had a broken hip when I attended the call for this run, by the way. Yeah. But I attended the call for the run, and what had happened is Ian had done 5 marathons in 5 continents in 5 days. And I think it was, don't quote me on this because this might be wrong, but it was something like Hawaii to Bangkok.
Wow.
Right? Was one of the flights.
Yeah.
And then the flight took like 11 hours, but it only took 10 minutes, like in terms of actual time.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. The 11-hour flight actually took 10 minutes. And it's then like, look at the map and go, how can I do a play on time where it's not the challenge, you know? And that's where the Chasing Yesterday marathons come in. But yeah, we had so we had that. We pitched it to the Guinness Book of World Records, which they've accepted it, and it's going to be in the actual Guinness Book for 2027. So it's going to be an official Guinness World Record attempt. And yeah, it's an exciting one, but with it coming with a Guinness sanction, also they add jeopardy. Yeah. So they add like a time limit on, and this is where we're getting up at midnight and getting the earlier flight, and we're running. But the logistics of it are a nightmare. Like, where do you run in American Samoa? Now, this place is known as like an isolated rainforest. If you go American Samoa and then click images, it's very remote. And we've been fortunate in Western Samoa because we've made friends with the High Chief, and
you've got the keys to the island. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're sorted.
They've given us a part. There's a 7-kilometer stretch up at the top that's kind of dog free, and they've offered us a police escort because there's stray dogs on the island, which you need to be aware of. So if we're running outside, like, they'll give us a police escort and stuff like that. Yeah. As for American Samoa, we've not got the logistics down on that yet, but I'm interested to see what we managed to come up with. We're working on it.
That's quite exciting though, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of the unknown and a bit wild and ready. I can't believe that Guinness have actually given you like a time limit, because obviously you guys are the first ones doing this. So surely whatever record you break, that's you're just setting the record. Do you know what I mean? It's for people to break it afterwards. But I suppose it's the challenge aspect that they've given you this, you know, specification on what you need to do it in. Yeah,
there needs to be jeopardy, but there's a few ways to beat it. I reckon you could beat it There's a bit that goes across the date line, I think, in Alaska and Russia. I reckon you could just run 84 kilometers directly across
Across the
Alaska to
ice.
Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you could do it.
That's your next one after this.
Yeah.
Just get them all smashed everywhere.
No, I think so. I'm going to do the Arctic after this.
Yeah, yeah.
Then I might just do the rainforest. But I don't know how I'm going to do the rainforest. And if my girlfriend's listening,
You've got the bug, Scott. This is the thing, man. This is you. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you're going to do one and you've done the hardest one in the world. So it's not like you've kind of hung up your boots after that. So it's kind of like, right, what can I do next? Do you know what I mean? As long as it's not affecting your life or, you know, your girlfriend's life, you know, you're doing this for a good cause as well. It's not just for shits and giggles and jollies, is it? So
it depends how dangerous it is. So the one that I had in mind, right? And this is a history lesson. In the late 1600s, there was a man named William Patterson. Are you aware of William Patterson?
The name rings a bell. Remind me. Yeah. What did he do? So
William Patterson was a financier and a good one. And he was that rich, Jimmy, that 25% of Scotland's GDP was his income, right?
Wow.
And he was a visionary. Obviously, that's why he had money.
Yeah.
And he had this vision to trade from New York to California without having to go around South America, right? And he said, what I want to do is try and build a canal.
Ah, yeah.
Okay. Now, the canal is now built in Panama.
Yeah.
But what he tried to do is he tried to build this. So between Panama and, is it Colombia? Yeah. There's a small thing called the Darien Gap.
Right.
It's 100 miles long, right? So it's a 100-mile long gap between Panama and Colombia, and still to this day, is inhabited because of the terrain. Now, William Patterson had this bright idea, and he said, I'm going to colonize the Darien, and I'm going to build a canal across so that global trade is owned by Scotland, right? So this is what we were going to do.
Yeah.
Him and a bunch of other very wealthy people went across to South America and tried to build this, and they all died in a flash flood, right? Now, the death of William Patterson and the loss of the GDP that came with that is the reason that we joined the UK in 1709.
Wow.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Now, what do you do about that, Jimmy? Well, I think what I should do is I should fly to Panama and get a big machete and hike to Colombia and bring it home for Scotland, because there's nobody from Scotland ever done it.
Yeah. I'm liking that.
Probably should, right?
Yeah.
But then the problem is
pretty dangerous because they all died.
Exactly. And then there's also the issue. So I spoke to tour guides over there. Everyone's advised against it, and it's not only the terrain; it's the human trafficking. Yeah. So there's human trafficking from South America, and they were like, you might be on the wrong side of a beheading video, but I kind of want to try it. But then in that way, that does affect other people's lives. Yeah. Because then I might just it's
the world is a dangerous place. Do you know what I mean? There are these things that they don't have the same kind of value, and I'm not kind of, you know, pigeonholing, you know, other countries or anything like that. But there's certain people out there that don't have the same value for life as we've got. Do you know what I mean? Because again, they don't have much. So if they see, you know, a Westerner or whatever, and they think maybe we can get some ransom or whatever, do you know what I mean? It is a dangerous world. So yeah, man, I think let's do the other ones first, and then, you know, maybe
it'd be a good story though, right?
It would be an amazing story to get back and bring it back for Scotland. Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Maybe one day.
A good press. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I think maybe one day I'll attempt it. And I say this openly on a podcast, because if any other Scottish person wants to steal that, they're welcome. I think someone needs to do it. I don't necessarily think it has to be me. And if someone stole it, with like the other ideas, you keep them secret.
Because because this one you're like, well, do I really want to do that? But do you know what? If someone else goes and does it first, at least I thought of it and then they did it. Yeah. Or you can find out that they didn't do it. They ended up in some nasty situation and didn't manage to do it. Yeah.
I'm responsible to do that.
Well, exactly. Scott, what would you say to someone listening right now who's still in that childhood role, covering for a parent, keeping the secret, thinking it's somehow their fault? I know we kind of touched on that, but what would you directly say to them now?
Make positive choices.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many years I wasted, mate? Like, because as I say, one negative decision turns into 2 negative outcomes, turns into 4 negative decisions, turns into 8 negative outcomes. If you make negative choices for years, you put yourself back. Like, as I say, I got straight A's in uni. There's no reason I shouldn't have got straight A's in school and skipped about 4 years of drinking in the park and wasting time. And as well, like, the decisions that I made directly impacted me, like, even to this day, because then you think all the money that I wasted on drink and drugs and fines, and mate, that's like house deposit stuff.
Of course it
And
is. Yeah.
see, you'll know this, right? And if someone is young, they won't know this. But when I was 18, the price of a house compared to now was about 30%, right?
Yeah.
I could own a house outright right now if I didn't do what I done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not the worst thing.
I could own a house, I mean, I don't own a house, and my brother bought a house when he was he bought a flat in Shawlands when he was about 19, I think. Do you know what I mean? Because he was very savvy and he got on the property market, and that would have been, 1996, maybe? Yeah, about that, 96, 97. And he got on the property market back then, but I was just messing about like you were doing in your early days. I know you've bought a house now, but, like you're saying, you could have bought it outright, I was just pissing about. So yeah, I know what you're saying. Do something positive, do something that's not wasting time, because life is short. And I'm glad I got sober at 40, because I could have been 50 or 60, which is, if people are getting sober at those ages, that's fantastic as well. But do you know what? Like, yeah, it just took so much of my life away that I didn't, and I'm not getting that back. So I've got to make stuff happen now.
Yeah, mate, as well, like, I managed to turn it around. I know plenty of people that didn't.
Yeah.
Do you know? Plenty of people that, because it's demoralizing, like, especially if you think, if you have a bit of an ego and you think you're clever and you're like, oh, well, I'm listening, you're going into an access course and they're teaching you the most basic of the basic stuff that you feel like you already know.
You already know,
like,
but you've got to go through it, and you've got to go through the motions and all of that kind of stuff.
Some people don't do it because of their ego, and they end up stuck. And I think as well, like, time goes fast, and if you're clueless and you've got no skills and whatever at 20 years old, no one really cares. If you're kind of clueless and have no skills when you're 30, it's a different time.
People are like, what have you been doing for the last 10 years? Do you know what I mean? This is your time to have sorted stuff out, but you get held back, and society doesn't look after you. Do you know what I mean? You've got to make these things happen for yourself. So, yeah. So you don't drink at all now, do you?
Mate, very rarely. If I got invited to a weekend or an Ibiza, I'll go for it. But I wouldn't have it in the house.
No.
Mate, I go as far as, like, I couldn't even. I've never smoked, mate.
Right.
Maybe if I was drunk or whatever when I was younger, but I've never, like, been a smoker.
That's
See, if I had cigarettes in the house, I would smoke them, mate.
Yeah,
that's the type of guy I am. I would just have them. If I have cans of juice in the house, I'll drink them. So I just have to. I don't know. I
know what you mean. Like, when I used to get, if I'd been abroad or something like that, when I was a smoker, and if I'd get the duty free, like the 200 pack, they were gone within a few days, just because they were in the house, and it was like, right, I've got, there's another packet. And then before you know it, it's like I'd smoke more than I normally would, because I've got them there in front of me. And it was the same with booze. I never had booze in the house, because if I did, it was drank. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't have like a wine rack where there was loads of nice wine for just when people coming round. And like my wife, she rarely drinks. There's a couple of little cans of gin and tonic in the fridge that have been there for months. Do you know what I mean? But she'll have one if she takes a shine to it every now and then. But other than that, she's not bothered. But for me, it was like I needed to drink. Well, towards the end, I had to stave off the withdrawals. But drinking was just something that I just always was just, I had to do it. Do you know what I mean? It was just my life. Yeah.
No, I've always been very disciplined to the, like, as you can tell, if you're going to go and run across the Arctic or get a world record or whatever, like, I've gone past the stage where I consider my personal thoughts, to be honest. If I say I'm getting up at 4 in the morning, I don't then go, oh, but I feel tired today. These thoughts don't even come into my head.
You just got to do
So
it.
if I'm like, I don't drink anymore, that's what I do. You know, if I say I'm not going out, I'm going to train 7 days a week, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, I do it. So I don't live in that kind of concern. Like if I go to Ibiza for a stag do and get drunk, I don't go, oh no, I'm going to come home and then I might start that again, you know?
Yeah. Because it's such a long time ago as well, and it was such a short period of your life that kind of, do you know what I mean? It was causing a negative impact. So, you know, it's not. We talk about these neural pathways that I obviously opened up and widened the longer and longer and longer that I drank. So yeah, if I went out tomorrow and had a drink, or tonight and had a drink, those neural pathways, they're still there. That's going to lead me straight back down that path. And I'm not saying for you that it ever got as bad as it did for me. So those neural pathways probably aren't exactly the same, but yeah. And the thing is, it affects everyone differently. You know, that's the thing. There's all these gray area drinkers that it's trying to stop it before it becomes a problem. And like what you've done, I mean, you're a completely different kind of case, because you're more about trying to campaign for children that are dealing with parents who are alcoholics, who aren't getting off of it, or, you know, they're not knowing how to get off of it. So yeah, it's an amazing thing what you're doing, man. And where can people find you? I'll put all your details in the show notes, but like, you know, off the bat, where can people find you?
Mainly Instagram, to be honest. Scott One Murdoch, Instagram. Yeah.
Nice.
You'll see some random challenges, some out the blue, some planned.
Yeah.
Maybe the Darien Gap one day, who knows?
Well, we'll see it, mate. We'll see it. But I mean, I'm excited. So, what date in July is the Samoa one? Chasing Yesterday. It is
The
Chasing
25th,
Yesterday, isn't it? Yeah.
Chasing Yesterday's. So we're doing that on the 25th
25th.
and the 24th.
I love it. So I'm trying to think in my head, when will we be watching it? We'll be watching it on the 25th and then the 26th. But for you, it'll be the 24th. Is that how?
No, it'll be the 25th and the 25th. So nothing changes. We're basically doing marathons.
You're doing 2 marathons in one day. I see. Yeah.
But then the second one is on the same day, but technically.
But you're doing it on the 24th. Yeah. I like it.
Oh, mate, try and book the flights back and forward. I'm so confused.
I know, we're going to Madeira next week, Jen, me and the kids. And I'm always panicking because, like, back in the day, I used to mess stuff up all the time. So when I book the flights, I'm always double checking, triple checking. For you, it'll be like, well, hang on, what day am I going back and what day am I coming forward? And yeah, man, that's mental.
If you stay there for a day, you fly back and it's 2 days later, and you're like, so what time do I leave the island to like head home? Yeah. You know.
And then you'll be like, am I younger now? Am I younger than I was when I I mean, you're not, obviously, but yeah. No, Scott, that's absolutely amazing. One last question. What word describes your life now?
Impulsive.
I mean, yeah, I completely agree with that. I concur, man. Yeah. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you, listening to your story, and good luck with everything, mate. I'm behind you 100%. And I think you guys are doing an amazing job, and just keep doing what you're doing. People are taking notice, which is, like, NACOA is a great charity, and yeah, just what you're doing is amazing. So thank you for sharing your story, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate listening, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, man. Take it easy. Good luck. We'll be following you. We'll be rooting for you. Cheers, bud.
All the best, mate.
And that's Scott Murdoch. What a human being, what a guy, what a legend, what a hero. The thing I keep coming back to is the little kid at the school workshop who went up to the caretaker and said, I know that if my dad has only 4 cans of beer in the fridge, everything will be okay. But if he goes to the pub with his friends, I need to hide under the covers. That shouldn't be how kids are growing up. That shouldn't be that they're reaching out and speaking to people about. That should not be happening. But why is it happening? Because of alcohol. Excuse me, that child doesn't know that that's normal, that's not normal. That child thinks every house works like that. And there are hundreds of thousands of kids in this country counting cans and hiding under duvets and going to school the next day and not saying a word. And no one is asking. And that's exactly what Scott and NACOA are trying to change. And they are doing a massive difference. They're making a massive difference. Scott, what you're doing is extraordinary. The Marathon des Sables, the Run to Edinburgh, Samoa, the schools program, all of it rooted in 2 Google searches you made at 21 when you were trying to figure out why your childhood felt the way it did. You've turned all of that into something that is going to genuinely change lives. And I'm so glad you came on and chatted with us. This is Monday when this is released, and Scott and Callum, Ian and Josh are all going to be running this, chasing tomorrow's marathons on Saturday coming up. So it'll be Saturday and Saturday, but it'll be Saturday and then the day before. So I'm still trying to get my head around it, but basically they do 2 marathons in the one day, but they jump over the international dateline so that they run the other marathon on the day before. So it'll be the 24th. So if you're not following them already, please follow them and find out how they get on. Scott's at Scott1 Murdoch on Instagram. NACOA's details are in the show notes. And if the Chasing Yesterday marathons are happening on the 25th of July, go and follow it, donate it, shout about it. These boys deserve all the noise we can give them. I will put the donation link as well in there. Stay safe, stay sober, and stay supportive, and follow the boys from NACOA doing their Chasing Yesterday's marathon. So I'll see you next week, guys. See ya. Love you all. Bye-bye.